Florida's Department of Health has been accused of manipulating their COVID-19 numbers in order to open up the state more quickly. The U.S. Space Force just launched X-37B, an unmanned spacecraft on a top-secret mission. And we discuss opening the country back up, what's really happening with the coronavirus numbers, and we draw some similarities to the 1918 Spanish flu. Welcome to today's episode of Leading the Way. Alright guys, so we're back. It's our 10th episode, and I'm fired up. And the reason I'm fired up is because Leading the Way now has 44 subscribers to the channel, right? And I love you guys. I've looked at every single one of your profiles in a non-creepy way, and I just want to say thank you for subscribing to the channel. And I want to give a special shout out to one of our first subscribers, Tony Jones. Tony, we are sending positive vibes your way and wishing you a very positive day today. All right? Now let's get into our first story. And our first story is about this space shuttle, the X-37B. Now, a few days ago, it was launched into orbit on a top secret mission, but they've been doing these kinds of missions for a long time, right? The last one lasted 780 days in space. And it was the same spacecraft, but they've been doing earlier iterations of the spacecraft since 1999, the first X-37A. They were doing missions back then. And what they're doing with these planes is they're shooting them off into space in a very low Earth orbit, right? It's going around the Earth for a long, long time, and they're conducting these really interesting experiments to try to understand what the effects of space travel, long range, may be on certain things. And I just want to show you some of the things they're talking about, right? So let's get into the story. Okay, so the first thing I want to show you guys is an article from 2019. This is back in October, and this is an older article just to show you that this plane, the X-37B, was on a previous mission for 780 days in orbit, and this is what the plane looks like, right? It's very similar to the old space shuttle. It just doesn't have any windows or things for people to look out of, right? So this is a cool picture, but the article I actually want to show you guys is more recent, right? It's a few days ago this came out, and they're talking about a mysterious U.S. military aircraft launches. And this is from BBC News, right? So the Atlas V rocket launched from Cape Canaveral on Sunday, and this is what it looked like. And they're launching this X-37B for a secret mission. The aircraft, also known as an orbital test vehicle, will deploy a satellite into orbit and also test power beaming technology. Now, when I saw this originally, the power beaming technology, it kind of caught my eye, so I wanted to look into it a little bit further, right? So let's look into what power beaming technology is. So to show you what that looks like, this is a receiver for power beaming technology, okay? It also looks like this. Right here. So this is a receiver for this new technology that they're testing, where basically they send a laser that looks like this, right? This long beam of light that connects to the receiver on the spaceship, and they're testing this new power, this way of powering the vehicle from very far away, without any hoses for gasoline or any of the other components they typically use. So very interesting technology, and not many people are aware of this, so I found it very interesting, right? But let's continue with the article. So this plane, it's the 6th mission in space, and it was dedicated to the frontline workers affected by the pandemic, right? That's pretty cool. And America Strong was written on the payload. But the Pentagon has revealed very few details about the reusable vehicle's missions, okay? One of the things they say here is, one of the experiments is that they're going to test radiation on seeds and other materials, right? So kind of what I can gather is they're sending this thing up and they're testing out experiments for long-range space travel, right? We know that Elon Musk is trying to move the human population to Mars. He's trying to populate Mars. That's what he's been working on with these rockets that take off and land, right? They're reusable rockets. But it turns out, the U.S. government has been kind of thinking along the same lines for a while, and they've been running these experiments. And the fact that they're doing it on seeds, right, to understand radiation on seeds, to me, kind of says, they're trying to take seeds to Mars, maybe, to plant stuff and try to grow and have, a new way of life on Mars, right? So very interesting stuff, right? So, but let's continue. I want to go to our next story now. And the next story is, it's a little bit controversial, okay? So I found this story yesterday, and now some new news has come out about it, but I still want to talk through it, right? So there's a woman in Florida who designed the COVID-19 dashboard for their state health department, okay? And she has announced recently that she's been removed from her position, okay? Her name's Rebecca Jones, and she says she was fired. It wasn't voluntary that she was removed from her position, and she's saying it was because she was ordered to censor data, but refused to manually change data to drum up support for the plan to reopen, right? So if this is true, it could have some really serious implications. We don't know for sure that this is true. This is just what they're reporting, right? So let's continue. Jones made the announcement in May, and she said, for reasons beyond my division's control, her office is no longer managing the dashboard, right? And she was actually, she was the leader of this team that created the dashboard, okay? She was in charge, and they've given, she's been given many accolades and praise from the White House and different officials, but apparently it's having more problems now that she's gone. But, very serious people, very important people. Dave Ehrenberg, the state attorney for Florida, is saying these allegations are disturbing, manipulating the data could cost many lives, right? And the agricultural commissioner, Nikki, she's speaking out as well. She's saying, thank you for not being afraid to speak out. Now, as we go down here, we find out that and this just came out today. This is something that is a new part of this story. Just came out. They're saying that this week the governor said Jones faces an open criminal investigation for cyber sexual harassment after a man in Tallahassee claimed to be a victim of revenge porn. So not the best picture over here, but I'm not going to say this is true. I'm not going to say it's not true. I think it's interesting that Gov.Desantis is coming out and he's not addressing the issue. He's talking about, he's discrediting her. He's saying, she's doing sexual stuff. She's harassing a man in Tallahassee, so she's not credible, right? They're turning her into an uncredible person in order to, so people don't believe her. So I don't want to go either way. I just think it's interesting that this is a story that's happening, and I think we should keep our eye on it, right? But let's continue, right? So this story leads me into something else, and what I want to talk about is I want to go back over the coronavirus numbers, because I see some things happening here that we should pay attention to, right? So let's go over the numbers, right? So this is Worldometer. And let's just talk about it, right? The coronavirus cases so far, we got 5.1 million, 330,000 deaths, 2 million recovered, right? And what I want to do is go down here and look at the US, okay? So right now we're sitting at 96,000 deaths, okay? And, these numbers could be argued. I've seen other people say that we're missing some deaths, that we could be as high as 115,000, something like that. But I'm not gonna speculate too much, right? Let's just take it for what it is. Let's say 96,000. We also have a few serious or critical people. Almost 18,000 here. So. A lot's happening here, but let's dig into it a little bit more, right? Because we're about to reopen our country in many areas, and what I want to show you guys is that things haven't really changed. Okay, so I want to go down here to the daily deaths, right? And in order to show you that things haven't changed too much, we got to talk about when we went under lockdown for the country, right? So to show you that, I have an article here, and basically what's happening is you can see by around the 30th of March, most states were shut down. Okay, by the end of March, there's 30 statewide orders, and more are practicing social distancing and this kind of stuff. So basically around March, we kind of locked down the country. Well, March 30th. Well, what happened after that, right? We have this big spike up, okay? And around that time, on March the 30th, there were 815 daily deaths, okay? The day before, 497, the day after, 1,085. Now, we're opening the country back up, and where are the deaths? Where are they at? Well, right now, we're sitting at 1,400. The day before was 1,552, and the previous day before that was 1,003. So we're actually higher than we were when we shut down as far as deaths per day. And same with cases per day, but with the testing problems and issues, you can't really trust those numbers exactly. But with deaths, I think we can accurately say that this is something we can really pay attention to, and it's very clear that there are more deaths today than when we locked down. Okay, so let's just keep talking about this, right? I have another really cool article I want to show you guys, and it's from the Washington Post, okay, and it's saying 92,000 people have died. It's arguable exactly what the number is, but as you can see here, right, they're doing the same thing. This is new daily deaths reported per day, and this is for the whole U.S. But I want to dig into these states. I want to go through some of these states, right? And what you're seeing here is, this hasn't been all the way reported yet, but you have 18 deaths reported yesterday, and when we locked down, there were 2 deaths. So, we had everything locked down, we still had these spikes, but now we're opening everything back up, and we're actually higher for reported deaths per day than what we were. So this is just something I want to talk through, right? Let's continue to look at some of these states, okay? So Alabama. Now, Alaska, not much going on there, right? Let's jump down. Arizona, okay? It's clearly above the March 30th trend there. Arkansas, looks like it's about the same. California, not a great day. And this is today. This isn't even done reporting. So California trending up, right? Colorado. Actually, this is Connecticut. Above, the March 30th line there. Delaware, climbing, right? District of Columbia, we're still roughly above this area, right? 3 deaths, we were 7, still higher. Florida, if we can trust those numbers, they're still higher, okay? Georgia, and Georgia's been a pretty controversial state, but they're not too far off where they were, but slightly above, right? Let's keep going. Idaho, not looking too bad over in Idaho. Illinois, you guys do not look good. You guys are still trending up, and you're reopening, okay? Let's continue. Indiana, sorry about that. And just wait till I catch up here. Indiana. Yeah, so same thing, right? Not looking that great, guys. Iowa. Yikes. Iowa, wow. They began reopening back here, and we're continuing to spike, okay? Kansas. Doesn't look too bad. Still above the average for March 30th. Kentucky. Doesn't look great. Louisiana. Trending down, but still, no, actually, this looks pretty good, actually. Louisiana, you're not doing too bad. Maine, not too bad. Maryland, flattening out, but still well above the March 30th trend. Massachusetts, same thing, right? And Michigan, you don't look too bad. But wow, Minnesota, you guys have a lot going on over there, right? 32 tests today, not done reporting, and when you lock down, there was only 1 death, so not a great trend there, right? I'm just going to continue through these because I think it's important to look and see what's happening, in our country. This is stuff people really aren't talking about, so I wanted to bring it to our attention, right? Mississippi, still above the average where we shut down. Missouri, doesn't look too bad, but still above the average. Montana, you guys are safe and sound. Nebraska, trending up. Nevada, kind of all over the place, to be honest with you. New Hampshire, trending up. New Jersey, still above the March 30. Well, you might be kind of close actually here. Very close though, right? New Mexico, trending up. New York, they had a very serious case of this, so they may have burnt this out more than almost anybody, and they're actually well below their 349 deaths now. So New York not doing so bad, but they had a really tough go of things early on, and that may be some of the reason, right? So let's continue. North Carolina, not looking good. North Dakota, trending up. We'll skip down to Ohio, trending up. Oklahoma, flat. Oregon, trending up. Pennsylvania, we are still trending up, and we're above the March 30th line. Rhode Island, trending up. South Carolina, still above the March 30th line. South Dakota, not looking so good. Tennessee, kind of flat. Texas, not looking good, guys. You guys opened up here, and we're continuing the trend up, right? Utah, we're almost done, guys. Stay with me. I just want to go through each one of these states here. We're almost done. Vermont, not so bad. Virgin Islands, Virginia, you guys, not looking too hot. Not looking too hot. Washington, interesting looking graph here, but we've had a big spike recently. Not out of the woods yet, right? And West Virginia, not much happening there. Wisconsin, well above the 30th, mark there, and Wyoming. And that's it, okay? So I just wanted to kind of go through the states and show you what's actually happening. And in a lot of these states, the death count is much higher now than when we first locked down. And that's just something I wanted to talk about because I don't hear many people talking about it. And if you have an opinion, please, drop a comment in the section below. I'd love to have a conversation about this. I'd love to hear your opinion. I'd love to hear, other research that people have that I can look at. So, if you have something to say, let me know in the comments below. But let's continue, right? Because the last thing I want to show you today is what happened with the 1918 Spanish flu. Okay, because I see some similarities, and I think we should be aware of what's happening, right? So let me show you. So this is very official data from the CDC, okay? And it's talking about the 1918 pandemic, the 1918 Spanish flu, and it's talking about the 3 waves that it had, okay? And it was the most severe pandemic in history, okay? So remember that. This is one of the most severe ones of recent years, right? So in this official data, I want to go down here and look at the waves of the Spanish flu. There were 3 different waves of the illness during the pandemic starting in March of 1918. Okay, so Spanish flu started in March, just like the coronavirus started in March in the US, right? Very similar timelines from where this started, okay? And what it's saying is it subsided by summer, right? You see, it's peaking here, maybe around June, it's leveling off, and in the warmer months, the sun being out, UV radiation helps quell the virus a little bit. But what they're saying is the pandemic actually peaked during the second wave, okay, the fall wave. And what we can see here is a much larger wave in the second wave here. It's much larger than the first. And if you were to kind of put this wave into this wave, I think you could probably put it in here, at least 4 or 5 times, right? Let's be conservative and say the second wave was 4 times as big as the first, right? Let's just be conservative here, okay? But how many people died in total from the Spanish flu, right? Well, I'm going to show you, okay? So the total Americans' death is 675,000 Americans during the Spanish flu over the 3-wave period, okay? Almost 700,000 people. A lot of people died, right? But what's happening now, right? So we've already gone over the numbers, and we agree that there's 96,000 deaths so far in the U.S., right? We'll bring it up here, 96,000. And just to make it a little bit easier with the math, let's just say 100,000, right? That's not a stretch. So we have 100,000 deaths in the first wave, and the second wave could end up being much worse, much more deadly. If it's anything like the Spanish flu, 4 to 5 times as big as the first wave, okay? So what does that look like, right? So we've had 100,000 deaths in our first wave. Well, if it's 4 times as big, that's 400,000 people, okay? So when you have 4,000 people in the second wave, and you have about 100,000 in the first wave, and then you have the possibility of a third wave that's roughly twice the size of the first, what do you get, right? You have 400,000 here, plus 100,000 here, 500,000, and then another 200,000 in a third wave, and that gets us to 700,000 deaths. And this is something I don't see many people talking about, right? We're talking about one of the most dangerous pandemics in the history of the world, and we may be on track to beat these numbers already. And we have a lot of people talking about how this isn't serious and how we need to get out there and they think we beat this, and I don't think that's the case. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't start the economy back up, right? There's a lot going on, and we definitely need to get our economy going because there are so many people unemployed that it's going to be really bad if we don't start jump-starting things. But what we need to all agree on wearing masks, okay? This is the number one thing that is going to help us get through this. And I hear many talk show hosts, many news anchors talk about, even today, somebody from the Daily Wire was talking about how the CDC came out and said the virus isn't contagious through touch, right? If the virus is on a surface, you're probably not going to catch it. But then he extrapolates from that masks aren't important somehow, which I don't really see the correlation, right? This virus is transmitted through aerosolized droplets, and the receptor sites for these droplets are in your nose and throat. So wearing a mask helps, okay? If everybody wears just a surgical mask, we reduce the infection rate by half, and it's been shown in many countries. They're doing much better than us because they're wearing masks. So let's not downplay masks. Let's get masks on everybody. Let's talk about masks, how they're helping, and we need to understand that we're not over this yet, and it's very serious, right? So if anybody has opinions, again, comment in the section below, because I'd love to have a conversation about this, because I don't see many people talking about it, right? But before we go today, I gotta get a Twitter video. I gotta show you what's going on Twitter. And the video I have today is it's by a guy that I've kind of looked up to over the past few years. His name's Joe Rogan, and he has the biggest podcast in the world right now. And he has an announcement, right? Let's listen to his announcement, okay? Let's see what he has to say.
Hello, everybody. I have an announcement. The podcast is moving to Spotify. I signed a multi-year licensing agreement with Spotify that will start on September 1st. Starting on September 1st, the entire JRE library will be available on Spotify as well as all the other platforms. Then somewhere around the end of the year, it will become exclusive to Spotify, including the video version of the podcast. It will be the exact same show. I'm not going to be an employee of Spotify. We're going to be working with the same crew doing the exact same show. The only difference will be it will now be available on the largest audio platform in the world. Nothing else will change. It will be free. It will be free to you. You just have to go to Spotify to get it. We're very excited to begin this new chapter of the JRE, and I hope you're there when we cross over.
And I'm already there. I'm on Spotify and I'm ready because I think this is a really cool move for Joe. He's going to get paid $100 million per year for this deal, and he's no longer going to be, he has problems a lot of time with getting his episodes pulled down because he wants to show a clip or maybe they talk about something controversial. And I think this move to Spotify is going to enable him to speak more freely. It also sounds like they're going to have some sort of video component that Spotify is going to come out with, which could be really cool, right? If they have something like YouTube that comes out on Spotify that you can watch videos for free and maybe upload videos, it's really exciting in my mind. And I think it's great that Rogan is being a leader on this and moving to a new platform, right? So that's all we have for today, and I hope you enjoyed the show. And until next time, my name's David, and this has been Leading the Way.